Hello everybody. So in this video today we will be covering the 2A part of unit 2 public economics, semester 5th and 7th of Delhi University. So in this basically part of unit 2 we have a three papers which is related to tax system, right? Indian tax system. We will look at the structure and the reforms of it. So the papers are like quite bulky, so it is not very feasible for you to go through all that, because I am trying to summarize these papers, that what they are trying to say, and as a student, like what your goal should be, like what you should learn from these like from these papers, and most importantly what kind of question you can expect from the like from your exams, like what kind of question you would be asking. So one thing is that what I have realized, like I have analyzed quite few papers of like this season, public economics, and I have gone through two papers specifically, and semester 5th and 7th public eco. And what I found, like from from this unit specifically, what they're trying to ask, like they have tried to ask one question each like paper at least, or from each unit, in a way that it kind of summarizes the whole paper. So if they will ask you a question from this unit, it would be something like, summarizing this whole chapter, like what is the crux, or is the paper is, कोई पेपर में कोई चैलेंज बता रखा है, या फिर कोई रिफॉर्म से रिलेटेड बात हो रही है, कुछ स्ट्रक्चर से रिलेटेड बात हो रही है, या फिर like what that paper is trying to say ना, they're trying to ask that questions relating to the जो current scenario है, right? And I will bring the important questions of this unit also in the next video, so stay tuned. So yeah, for this papers is the first paper, envisioning tax policy for accelerated development in India. So basically जो main argument है इस पेपर का वो ये है कि इंडियाज गोल जो है एक एक्सेलरेटेड एंड इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट करने का, यानी कि एक डेवलप्ड कंट्री बनने का, एंड बीइंग अमंग्स द लाइक वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी बनने का, इट कैन नॉट बी अचीव्ड विदाउट मेजर रिफॉर्म्स इन इट्स टैक्स सिस्टम. मतलब वी नो कि टैक्स कितने इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं, राइट? बिकॉज टैक्स इज़ वेरी नेसेसरी फॉर थिंग्स लाइक हमारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट के लिए, सोशल प्रोटेक्शन के लिए, ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट के लिए, बहुत सारी चीज़ों के लिए. लाइक यू कैन नॉट एक्सपेक्ट हाउ द गवर्नमेंट वुड गोइंग टू बिल्ड द रोड्स फॉर यू. मेट्रो हो गया एंड अदर सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो गया, वो कैसे बनता है? पैसे से, राइट? एंड हाउ द गवर्नमेंट गेट मनी from majorly taxes, like taxes one of the major revenue source for the government. So we need to like very keep in mind ki how big this challenge could be. And they also talked about so basically the main focus of this paper trying to say ki what is the main major challenge, or what is the central problem that we can identify, or that we have identified in our tax system, that is under taxation related to its income level. So what the trend we are seeing कि हमारी income increase हो रही है, like we are growing fast, we were one of the fastest growing economy. So obviously like as we are doing good in our economy wise, like our income is increasing, so what we expect कि हमारा tax भी increase होना चाहिए, but that is not happening. So our tax is not increasing related to our increased income. So that is the problem, and that's what we are calling as undertaxed. So undertaxation is a central problem that is discussed in this paper, and the author emphasized that the primary objective of tax policy in developing country is what? Is to raise adequate revenue in an efficient, equitable and non-distortionary manner. And I think so far हमने जो पढ़ा था चैप्टर 19 हो गया, like 18, 17, वी हैव टॉक अ लॉट अबाउट कि टैक्स पॉलिसी कैसे डिज़ाइन होता है. उसकी मेन क्या होता है कि गवर्नमेंट वांट टू रेज अ फिक्स्ड अमाउंट ऑफ रेवेन्यू, कीपिंग इन माइंड कि हमारा वो जो टैक्स सिस्टम है, टैक्स पॉलिसी है, इट इज़ एफिशिएंट, इक्विटेबल भी हो, नॉन डिस्टॉर्शनरी मैनर में हो. दैट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल कि लेस, एटलीस्ट लेस डेड वेट लॉस हो, या very less, minimum social welfare loss ho. This is in our mind, like this is what we wanted to keep in mind while we're designing policies. So similarly, this is our primary objective out of our tax policy in any developing country, okay? We can raise revenue, adequate revenue in an efficient, equitable and non-distortionary manner. And India's tax system currently suffers from what? Low revenue activity, like low revenue productivity. And you guess what, like Dew has directly asked a question from here at the exam that has happened on 70th of December. So this question was asked like what are the challenges, or why, basically analyzing कि why tax system has a like India is facing a problem of low revenue productivity, right? So this is a question. Low revenue productivity का मतलब है कि like capacity हमारी उतनी अच्छी नहीं है. We have a very low capacity to generate revenue as our income is increasing like from the taxation, right? And the reason is because of the excessive complexity, high compliance costs, distortions that negatively affect economic growth and employment. So basically these are some of the reasons given कि ऐसा क्यों है, हमारी low revenue productivity क्यों है. Because हमारा system जो है, tax system बहुत ही complex है. It has a very high compliance cost and it is distortionary, so that negatively affect the economic growth and employment. And this paper also like summarized or tell us that a sound tax system relies on three interlinked pillars: tax architecture, tax engineering, and tax administration. So architecture is like designing and just define what is the objectives of the tax policy. Engineering is like mechanism of levying and collecting taxes. It means basically what would be the technique which we will use while collecting the taxes, how we will collect the taxes. And tax administration means like implementation and the enforcement wala part, right? So weakness in any one of these can undermine the entire tax system. So the paper stressed that tax policy is only good as its administration, right? So now the author argues that minimizing three cost of taxation is crucial, because we have read what are the main problems. Like one is the complex nature of it, so complexity of tax structure, high compliance cost. I mean like जो cost that you bear while following the rules, tax rules, it is like lot of paperwork हो गया, let's say, and you just the amount or the cost that you will bear while filing for the taxes or understanding the whole concept, it comes under the compliance cost and the distortions, right? So in order to basically minimize these cost of taxations, like three cost is mentions, is very crucial. So three cost is given. One is cost of collection, second is compliance cost, and third is economic distortions. Okay. And in order to achieve this, the tax system should be simple, transparent होना चाहिए, broad based and neutral, with low marginal rates and minimal exemptions. Over reliance on high tax rate is discouraged because distortions increase exponentially with rates. So what we're trying to say कि हमारा टैक्स सिस्टम कैसा होना चाहिए, सिंपल होना चाहिए, ट्रांसपेरेंट होना चाहिए. यानी कि पार्टी शुड नो कि स्टेक होल्डर शुड नो कि दिस इज़ द टैक्स दैट इज़ इम्प्लाइड ऑनर्स, हमें इतना देना है. एंड दे नो अबाउट कि वॉट आर ऑल द इनकम स्लैब्स क्या हैं, बेसिकली टैक्स कैसे है, किस पर कितना टैक्स है. सो दे हैव अ बेटर आइडिया, दे आर ट्रांसपेरेंट, लाइक दे आर नॉट फियर्ड कि हमारे साथ like government is kind of taking money out of us, like बहुत ज़्यादा ले रही है, like kind of that. So anybody shouldn't feel like it. Anybody should feel like yes, like money is transparent, so everybody, like the system is very fair and accountable for whatever like tax is being collected from us. And broad based like it shouldn't be like कि बहुत सारी कुछ communities पर है, कुछ communities पर नहीं है. So it should be broad based, like मेजर कम्युनिटीज़ को उसके अंडर में आना चाहिए. वेरी फ्यू एग्जेम्पशन शुड बी देयर. न्यूट्रल होना चाहिए, राइट? मतलब ये इट शुड नॉट बी फेवरिंग वन एक्टिविटी ओवर दी अदर. मतलब एक को बहुत ज़्यादा हम लाइक फेवर कर रहे हैं, वी आर इग्नोरिंग दैट, वी आर नॉट टैक्सिंग दैट कम्युनिटी, वेल जो दूसरी कम्युनिटी है उस पर हम बहुत एक्सेसिव टैक्स लगा रहे हैं. सो इट कैन क्रिएट दैट इम्बैलेंस, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी आर कॉलिंग कि इट शुड बी न्यूट्रल विद लो मार्जिनल रेट्स. मार्जिनल रेट्स मतलब होता है कि आपका जो मनी इनकम होता है लाइक पर यूनिट ऑफ मनी, जैसे 1 रुपये पे आप लाइक 1 रुपये आपकी इनकम कमा रहे हैं, तो ऑन एवरी इनकम, लाइक ऑन एवरी रुपी what you are paying to the government, like what is the tax you are paying, like maybe 25 rupee 25 paise or the 50 paise. So that is kind of like marginal rate, and that should be low, बिकॉज हाई मार्जिनल रेट होगा तो ऑब्वियसली सब्सटीट्यूशन इफेक्ट हमारा डोमिनेट करेगा. वो क्या बोलेगा कि लाइक देर इज़ नो बेनिफिट, लाइक सो पीपल्स के पास, इंडिविजुअल के पास वुडंट हैव एनी इंसेंटिव टू वर्क, दे वुड बी डिस्करेज टू वर्क. सो labor supply will fall and people won't work basically. So low marginal rate is very important, and minimal exemptions, right? So yeah, so a major insight of this paper is the progressivity of the tax system should be judged by its overall impact, not by whether tax are direct or indirect. So prog- प्रोग्रेसिविटी ऑफ द टैक्स तो हमें पता है, लाइक ये हम प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्स क्या होता है, मतलब वो टैक्स जो कि जो हाई इनकम इंडिविजुअल्स होते हैं दे पे हायर शेयर ऑफ द इनकम, और दे बेयर द हायर लाइक हायर बर्डन ऑफ द टैक्सेशन, बेसिकली टैक्स बर्डन जो है वो हाई ऑन द हाई इनकम इंडिविजुअल्स. सो बेसिकली आइडिया इज के income distributions, when government wish to provide a equitable society, like wanted to do a equitable distribution, so what government do कि it taxed with high rates on the high income individuals, and उस money को लेती है and they distribute it to poor individuals. तो एक तरीके से distribution का जो काम होता है like from of income का from high individual to low individual, उस तरीके के टैक्स को सिस्टम को वी कॉल इट द टैक्सेशन इज प्रोग्रेसिव. प्रोग्रेसिव मीन्स कि जो अमीर हैं लाइक जो रिच हैं उनसे ज़्यादा पैसा गवर्नमेंट ले रही है एज अ टैक्स, एंड जो पुअर हैं उनसे कम ले रही है. दैट्स इट. एंड बट इसमें बोल रहा है कि इट शुड बी जज्ड बाई दी ओवरऑल इम्पैक्ट. मतलब हम ये नहीं बोल सकते ब्लाइंडली कि प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन इज़ द बेस्ट काइंड ऑफ अ टैक्स और इट्स द बेस्ट टैक्स पॉलिसी, क्योंकि वी शुडंट गो बाई दिस, वी शुड जज इट बाई इट्स ओवरऑल इम्पैक्ट. मतलब उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या हो रहा है एट दी एंड, राइट. सो एम्पेरिकल एविडेंसेस शो करती हैं कि जो पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स है इट इज़ ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ अ प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्स, राइट, हैज़ नॉट बीन इफेक्टिव इन रीडिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग इनकम इन डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज ड्यू टू नैरो टैक्स बेसिस, इनफॉर्मेलिटी एंड वीक इन्फोर्समेंट. तो ये बता रहा है कि ये जिस वजह से आया था, बेसिकली प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्स को जिस वजह से हमने इम्प्लीमेंट किया था कि इट विल प्रोवाइड द मोर इक्विटेबल सोसाइटी, जहाँ पे कि देयर वुड बी अ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ इनकम फ्रॉम हाई इनकम इंडिविजुअल्स टू लो इनकम इंडिविजुअल्स. बट प्रैक्टिकल में ऐसा हो रहा है, नहीं हो रहा. वाई दिस इज़ नॉट हैपनिंग स्पेशली इन डेवलपिंग कंट्री? क्योंकि हमारा वीक इन्फोर्समेंट है, वी डोंट हैव अ स्ट्रॉन्ग इंस्टीट्यूशंस, राइट. एंड इनफॉर्मेलिटी, वी ऑल नो दैट कि हमारा जो इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर है इट इज़ वेरी वेरी ह्यूज, लाइक 80 to 90% ऑफ द एम्प्लॉयमेंट इज़ इन इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर इट सेल्फ. एंड इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर में तो ऑब्वियसली उसकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी क्या है, हाउ लाइक इट वुड बी इनफॉर्मल सेक्टर है तो उसके अकाउंट्स भी बहुत कम होंगे, इट देयर इनकम्स वुड नॉट बी इन द फॉर्मल टैक्स सिस्टम. सो ऑब्वियसली कितना टैक्स अवॉइडेंस होता होगा. सो इट इज़ नॉट लाइक फेयर एट द एंड, इट इज़ नॉट इफेक्टिव and not narrow tax bases. Wahi. Therefore, redistribution should rely more on the public expenditure, that is health, education, welfare, rather than the tax structure alone. So हम conclusion पे क्या आते हैं कि जो redistribution है income का it should rely more on public expenditure. So in respect कि हम ऐसा कुछ टैक्स लगाएं कि जिससे कि वी आर थिंकिंग कि वी आर सपोज के हाई इनकम इंडिविजुअल से हम पैसे ले लेंगे, गरीबों को दे देंगे, बट पुअर पीपल्स को दे देंगे, बट दैट इज़ नॉट इफेक्टिव, राइट. उन तक पहुँचता नहीं है. सो व्हाट इज़ अ बेटर वे टू मेक सोसाइटी मोर इक्विटेबल, टू मोर सोसाइटी मोर लिवेबल प्लेस? बाई एक्सपेंडिंग ऑन द पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर लाइक से हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, वेलफेयर, राइट. पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर करके दिस कुड बी अदर वे राउंड. So papers strongly support the adoption of comprehensive goods and service tax like GST जो आया था. This paper strongly support this and see it as the cornerstone of the reform because it broadens the tax base. इसने जो tax base है उसको बढ़ाया. tax base यानी कि let's say पहले 10 लाख individuals tax के अंदर थे, tax भरते थे, लेकिन अभी वो बढ़ के 20 लाख हो गया है. So the number of people who used to be paying tax, so the number of taxpayers basically has increased after GST is being implemented. So it like broaden the tax base, reduces cascading of effects. Cascading of taxes होता है, right, tax on tax. मतलब बहुत सारे इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स होते हैं ना, तो उसमें क्या होता है कि हम टैक्स के ऊपर भी टैक्स लगा लेते हैं. इट्स मोर लाइक कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट. सो ये बहुत ही डिस्करेजिंग होता है स्पेशली फॉर प्रोडक्शन, फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग फर्म्स के लिए, बिकॉज उनका कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन बहुत ज़्यादा इंक्रीज़ हो जाता था उससे. एंड डेफिनेटली अगर कॉस्ट उनका प्रोडक्शन का इंक्रीज़ हो गया तो दे वोंट बी एज कॉम्पिटिटिव एज दे वुड हैव लाइक अर्लियर. सो दैट इज़ काइंड ऑफ ऑल्सो हेल्पफुल हियर GST में कि it reduces the cascading of taxes, it improves compliance through invoice matching, enhance efficiency in supply chains, improve competitiveness of the Indian firm, right? Just keep these points in mind कि in general जो tax reforms हुए थे especially like GST उनके क्या क्या benefits थे या advantages थे. However, the implementation challenges remains including exclusion, right? Coordination between center state, capacity constraint and the need for strong ID system. So these are the challenges. एक्सक्लूजन हो गया बेसिकली कि बहुत सारे लाइक लार्ज सेक्शन ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट जैसे पेट्रोलियम एल्कोहल हो गया, रियल एस्टेट हो गया, एंड आप देख रहे हो लाइक दीज आर वेरी हाई अर्निंग सोर्सेज and these are excluded. So it is not like sound very feasible to us because most of the you see like peoples are rich, they belongs to these categories like petroleum, alcohol or real estate. They are very rich people who owning things here or doing business in this, but they are being excluded. So what is the meaning of being our taxation or progressive taxation? Yeah, this is kind of like a lot of political aspect to it, so we are not going further. So yeah, it includes like exclusions and coordination between center and state. Obviously like center state mein to like there's a huge tension and there's also fiscal tension between them regarding taxes ke GST ka, like states were fighting ke they have like lost their revenue sources because of GST. Now they wanted compensation and government is being delaying in their compensation, so that is a stress there. And that kinds of affect the cooperative federalism which we talk about, and also capacity constraints and need for strong IT system, like obviously because आप कभी भी sites पे जाओ, government sites पे, let alone the GST portal, so it is always like like they have a lot of glitches with them, like they don't work properly. So there's a lot of need for a strong IT system to make the things more flawless, right, to make it more seamless. So the way forward here is like broadening the tax bases, rationalizing exemptions, strengthening tax administration and enhancing the use of technology, improving taxpayer services, building trust between taxpayer and state. So that's it. This is the way forward. So you can see like in a nutshell what this paper is trying to say कि we all know कि tax system is very important for एक growth के लिए, एक sustainable और एक country को develop बनाने के लिए, लेकिन जो problem आती है main tax system में, that is the under taxation. Under taxation में क्यों आती है? Because of many reasons. उनमें से हमने पढ़ा कि like things like हमारी complexity, right, high compliance cost and distortion, ये सारी चीज़ें वजह है under taxation की. Then we talk about कि जो reforms हुए थे like GST वगैरह, they have improved a lot in this, but still we have some challenges. Challenges like this capacity constraint हो गया, IT system को strong करना है, and including exclusions को as well, and coordination between state and center, right? Then we concluded with the way forward कि what are the areas we need to focus on, and these are the ones, right? So this is like for this paper. Now the second paper is goods and services tax, GST से related है, where it talks about the progresses, challenges and the future prospects of GST. So GST basically introduced हुआ था 2017 में, and it's a very landmark indirect tax reform in India, right? Like like tax दो तरीके के होते हैं, direct tax and indirect tax. Indirect tax basically direct tax होता है, you can relate to it like you can say direct tax is more like income tax, can we say as a direct tax, right? मतलब जहाँ पे हमारी ओवरऑल इनकम पे अफेक्ट होता है, वी कॉल दिस डायरेक्ट टैक्स. इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स होता है इनकम पे ना के चॉइसेस को, जो हमारा चॉइसेस या कंज्यूमर बिहेवियर को चेंज करता है. यू कैन बी लाइक इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस में यू कैन इंक्लूड कमोडिटी टैक्सेस हो गई, एक्साइज ड्यूटी हो गई, एंड लॉट ऑफ लाइक टैरिफ हो गए, and these kind of attacks in India. So though initially complex, GST has gradually evolved into a more unified, efficient and compliance driven tax system supported by digitalization and improved revenue performance. So basically इसमें बोल रहे हैं कि GST जब starting में आया था, it was very complex, people was not getting, there's a lot of debate around it कि what kind of thing is this, but now just like as it evolved over time, GST एक बहुत ही simple और एक unified, efficient और एक compliance driven tax system के रूप में like उभर के आया है, and supported by digitalization and revenue performance. So if we look at the progress and performance of GST, we can call it like the features also. These are also we can be called as a features of GST, like unified national tax system. First of all, तो पहले क्या था कि there are a lot of indirect taxes हुआ करते थे, especially value added tax हो या like multiples, and that too depends on state to state. Like एक यूनिफॉर्म नहीं था कुछ भी, like अपना जो हर एक स्टेट होते थे वो अपने हिसाब से टैक्सेस लगाते थे on different commodities, so it was very big and very confusing, complex. So GST ने क्या किया कि इसको पूरा यूनिफाइड कर दिया, एंड GST रिप्लेस मल्टीपल सेंट्रल एंड स्टेट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस को, जैसे कि वैट, एक्साइज ड्यूटी, सर्विस टैक्स, सेंट्रल टैक्स, सबको. So what it created something like one nation one tax kind of a policy, and it simplified interstate trade and compliance for businesses, right? Like if you like you can imagine if tax system is like sorted, like you don't have to worry about कि दूसरे स्टेट में क्या टैक्स रेट्स है. देन यू हैव टू डिसाइड योर बिजनेस, जो भी आपके पास प्रपोजल्स हैं और आइडियाज़ हैं, यू कैन नाउ बी लाइक यू से, because taxes is kind of a similar in every state for that thing, so you would be at much more ease. Your cost of doing business has like reduced because of that, has fallen down. And the second is revenue growth and stability. So you can see like कि monthly GST collection जो है it's like consistently exceeded 1 trillion since the late 2020. So you can see कि कितने huge amount में government is making money out of GST. So it is definitely serving the purpose, जहाँ पे कि we want something कि हमारा जो revenue productivity की बात कर रहे थे that improved, and GST kind of help in that. It has improved a lot and we have a long way ahead, long road to go. And the revenue growth like by e-voicing, improved data analytics, better tax pay, better compliance culture and all. So these are few the things by which it is kind of helping in growing the revenue, why the revenue growth is being so good because of these changes, these kind of structural changes that we had seen. Our technology is improving, e-voicing has made it very much easier to sort things out by sitting at your home. Like you don't need to go to different offices, different departments and all to get signed up papers to solve the issues out. So the things has become more clear, especially like here also, like digitalization has play a big role here. And GST platform has also been introduced, e-voicing, real-time invoicing, matching and all. So ये सारे जो भी हमारे like new ideas, innovations, and they kind of helped. And other one is the economic efficiency gains, removal of cascading effect, interstate checkpoints, elimination हो गया, so that lead to ease of doing business, supply chain integration, logistic efficiency and all, like, and therefore it helped in increasing the competitiveness of the Indian good. And the sectorial impact like manufacturing and trade benefited from the input tax credit. Agriculture gained from improved logistic, and initial transition led to temporary price volatility which stabilizes over time. These are social impacts. Now we have a challenges also, multiple tax rate का structure, like slabs again बहुत ज़्यादा है, like 0, 5% with 12%, 18, 28 and plus cesses and all. So that is a, because इतने सारे tax structure होना, it can be confusing, right? एंड हमारा जो आर्ग्यूमेंट क्या रहता है बेसिकली, हमारा इसको हम आगे बढ़ेंगे लाइक फ्यूचर रिफॉर्म्स वगैरह में. सो फॉर नाउ टेक्नोलॉजी एंड दी कंप्लाइंस इश्यूज़, वही कि जो हमारी आईटी को थोड़ा हमें वी नीड टू स्ट्रेंथन इट. स्टेट रेवेन्यू एंड कंपनसेशन इशू, वही कि लाइक देयर वाज अ टेंशन एंड लैक ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेशन बिटवीन स्टेट एंड center like when the GST came, so state were promised compensation for their revenue loss, and the delays in those compensations lead to disputes over compensation, and it's kind of created fiscal stress for states and trust deficit basically in cooperative federalism. So these are the challenges that we need to face in order to improve on the, and like so that we can basically get the full benefit or the advantages of a tax structure like GST, because it's a very helpful, useful, and it has shows its potentials by, you can look at the numbers, like revenue collection has tremendously increased, it has improved a lot. So there are few loopholes or the challenges that we need to taken care of now, and it would give us good revenue productivity for the future. So looking into it, like what are the prospects in future reforms? So one is the rate rationalization. Again, like हमें जो fewer slabs पे आना है, like multiple जो tax rate structure है उसको लाके कम करना है. Maybe two main structure हो सकते हैं, two rates like 5% और 18% रखें हैं बस. And we can separate higher rates for luxury goods के लिए and sin goods के लिए. So aim जो है is to simplify the tax structure and improve the compliance. Second is enhanced revenue productivity, right? कैसे कर सकते हैं? Continued digital monitoring analytics expected to expand tax base to improve revenue buoyancy, and GST likely to become a strong long-term revenue source. Third is simplified compliance mechanism. Again, like these are very repeated here, right? Economic sustainability. Second generation GST reforms, which includes structural improvements, harmonized tax administration, dispute resolution, strengthening cooperative federalism, long-term economic growth, employment generation, stable and predictable state finances. These are all the future reforms or structures that we can do and achieve the goal. And the third one is the tax avoidance and underreporting among the wealthy in India. So basically this is a research paper, it's evidence study by the Ram Singh, Delhi School of Economics. He's a professor there. So he basically talked about a very important issue कि हमारे यहाँ इतने wealthy लोग हैं, right? We have very affluent peoples, लेकिन when we look at their tax ना कि how much tax they paid, you will see, like you would be very stark. You will see कि they are very insignificantly unreported, like they are not being reported, they are not reporting their incomes. So that is kind of a creating problem for the tax structures, because हमारा जो like we already have a very low tax like revenue productivity. So basically the core argument था इस study का वो ये था कि wealthy Indians जो हैं like they significantly underreport their income, especially capital income, and that leads to tax avoidance, a regressive effective tax structure, and underestimation of income inequality. So basically मतलब वही कि जो अमीर लोग हैं वो टैक्स तो बहुत कम ही देते हैं, like they do not report even their income कि what is their true income, right? And उसकी वजह से क्या होता है, that leads to tax avoidance. यानी कि tax avoidance हमने देखा था like legally तरीकों से like you are kind of not paying the tax, right? And second is regressive effective tax structure. Regressive effective tax structure मतलब है कि वैसे देखने में तो हम माने like we can see कि ये हमारा जो tax policy है it's a progressive, लेकिन what we can see क्योंकि rich peoples are not reporting their incomes, they are not paying the taxes, eventually जो burden है like you can see relatively poor peoples are paying more taxes, right? Relatively, so जो burden है is like now is more on poor. So in fact like in practice in real life this means like it is a regressive tax structure, not a progressive one, and it also lead to underestimation of income inequality, because income ही हमें पता wealth की कितनी है, so how do we gonna to measure the income inequality? So that leads to underestimation of the income inequality. So what are the key findings and evidences of the papers? There were three key findings. First is the inverse income wealth ratio, which says income is your numerator and the wealth is your on denominator. And it has analyzed that as wealth increases, the reported income as a share of wealth falls. ठीक है, so जो हमारी जो पूरा like ये ratio है it kind of a falls. And why this falls, like income हमारी it is not increasing as much as wealth जो reported है, or not increasing at all. So the reported income है as a share of wealth it falls, and therefore it indicates what? Systematic underreporting by richer individuals. So first is this inverse income wealth ratio. Second is stark disparity. Stark disparity मतलब क्या कि bottom 10% people जो हैं reported who reports their income exceeding 100% of their wealth. यानी कि जो 10% बिलो 10%, बॉटम 10%, लाइक इफ वी हैव दिस स्केल एंड वी हैव 100 पीपल्स, लाइक यहाँ पे इट्स अ मीडियम एंड दीज लाइक दीज आर मीडियम से अबव इनकम वाले रिच पीपल्स हैं. हियर वी हैव द लोअर ग्रुप. ठीक है. एंड इसमें भी जो 10% लोग हैं सबसे जो लाइक दैट कम्स टू द पुअर बैकग्राउंड और द बॉटम ऑफ द whole income level, they are reporting their income exceeding 100% of their wealth. So let's say they have a wealth of 1 lakh rupees, or let's say 10,000 rupees of a wealth, and their income is exceeding 100%, like they are reporting 100% of 1,000, like 1 lakh income. But when it comes to wealthy peoples, like top 0.1% report less than 2% of their wealth as income. So you can see the disparity, the inequality. And Forbes listed families reports below 0.6% of their wealth. So it shows the capital income is largely missing for the rich. Missing capital income. Third is the missing capital income, which means capital income is what? Like income you earn from your assets, right? It can be like from stocks, yeah, like you have some equities, whatever you are earning from stocks or real estate, for say, right? So these are like the examples. So basically returns from all these things gives you what? Money. Like this gives you returns, and these returns basically are called capital income. So जो capital income है, basically wealthy people do not report that or misreport it, whatever. So over 90% of capital returns of the richest household do not appear in tax data. So you can keep remember like these few steps, like this is very handy and this is very important for you too. So just remember it. I will raise it so you can take the screenshot of it. So these are the key findings and evidences of this paper, and it will help you to substantiate more in your answer when a question related to wealthy people's related unreported income and all आता है, तो you can just इसको आप लिख के आ सकते हो and you will fetch a good marks using this. Now what is the methods of underreporting? So methods of underreporting is capital income concealment, like returns from shares, real estate, private equity. They either not reported or shifted to low income low tax category. So one is this method to underreport, or जो जैसे like they are not paying the taxes. Second is cash based income, like professionals हो गए, like doctors, lawyers, traders receive payments in cash and income remains outside the formal tax system. It also showing ना कि हमारा बहुत ही एक informal tax, like informal economy, we have a huge informal economy, so it also leads to tax avoidance to a very great extent. Cash based economy. Third is tax planning and avoidance. Misclassification of income as agriculture income, exempt or lightly taxed income. Agriculture income, because like agriculture income is not taxed in India, so people for do like they classify their income as a agriculture income, so they kind of miss that. They don't have to fill the taxes for that, file for the taxes. Misclassification of income. So excessive or false deduction claims. So these are the like methods. And fourth is regressive impact on the tax structure. So tax system, it basically shows कि जो salarized individuals हैं, they face high compliance and reporting, and wealthy individuals legally or illegally avoid taxes. So effective tax burden is shifted downward, that is on the poor peoples, low income peoples. So it makes the system regressive. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier, right? Regressive tax system है हमारा. And why this has mattered so much, why we're talking about it? Because of the fairness. Rich pays less tax related to the true economic capacity, whereas the middle and salaried classes bears a disproportionate burden. And it also goes to the other thing, that is inequality measurements. That is official data underestimate income inequality because of underreporting, and because of which true concentration of income and wealth is much higher. Like obviously like wealth has a much higher income, so true concentration can be much higher, so it's kind of lead to underestimation of the income inequality that we have. So yeah, that's it for this these papers. So first paper, like if we conclude, first papers talk about the tax system, what are the main challenge in the tax system, and that was the under taxation, right? Under taxation. Here we have read like what are the challenges we have. Challenges basically like high compliance cost and complexity. Because of the complexity of the system, right? And informality, like informal economy we have, right? These were like few of the challenges, and then we talk about like reforms were there in tax systems. Reforms like GST and all, they have improved the this and the taxation thing quite a lot, but still we have some. These are basically challenges that we face, and what are the challenges that we need to take in care of. Things like we need to strengthen our IT system, like we need to make strong institutions, right? Strong institutions. And what we can do, we can rationalize our tax structure, like tax slabs को और tax rates को कम कर सकते हैं, right? So there's few reforms. And then we have the second paper talks about the GST, what the GST has progressed so far, its challenges, right? And what can be done, like future reforms. Third paper is about the underreporting of income of wealthy people in India. That's kind of a create a problem of like underestimation of income inequality, right? Underestimation of income inequality. It kind of make regressive टैक्स स्ट्रक्चर पूरा इफेक्ट होता है. And leads to tax avoidance, or we can also relate it to like it kind of affect the our revenue productivity को भी affect करती है. Right, so these are the things and ways were given how we can improve on that. So basically this is about the first part of this second unit. And so thank you very much for watching my video, and if you like the content, so please do comment about it, and do subscribe the channel. It motivates me to bring more such content on the channel.